been an entrepreneur for since I exited McKinsey back in 2005. I've been out doing 3 startups actually. The first one I didn't put up there because it was a failure, and in Europe we're not that proud of failure. So, but I managed to fail in 9 months. So you know, that's, if you've got to fail, better fail fast. The second one I did was SIP. SIP was a predated Facebook and predated the iPhone, so it was a social network based on your contact list on your mobile. And the pitch we had back then to investors was that your mom and the friends that really matters to you are not on MySpace, so your contact list is the real friends you have. So build a social network off that, and you have the social network of the future. This was before Facebook, where your mom actually is on, right? For good or for worse. Vodafone acquired SIP back in 2008. I then spent 2 years working for Vodafone, and after that I was part of, not quite part of starting Podio. I arrived like 9-10 months after. 3 guys in the basement of Copenhagen had started the company. So I came in as angel investor and CEO of the company, and then we built Podio up to quite good traction in the market. I'll talk more about that a bit later. And roughly 25 people when we got acquired by Citrix in 2012. So my background, talking about future of the work, is actually working for quite some years in a law firm, in McKinsey, in startups, in very big companies, Vodafone, 80,000 people, and now in also somehow big company with 9,000 people working at Citrix. I'm not a futurist, right? I don't do big predictions. I execute on things I see and things I need. So if you expect this to talk about how the world looks 30 years from now, then you better leave now. Okay, that's one. Sorry. So because talking about the future of work is a bit. You probably know the saying that the future is here. It's just unevenly distributed. That's exactly how it is with work. Some of you, I bet, don't even work from an office. You rarely, you haven't, definitely not using a PC, right? If you do use anything close to a PC, it's a Mac, and everything is online. You don't have anything installed on it, right? That's the world some of us live in. And some people live in, they still have to go into the office to get work done. And they are, they barely have a laptop, and it's locked down systems. Sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's just how it is, right? So the future of work, for some of you might sound like lame because what I'm going to say, because that's where you are already. But for others, it's still the future. Hopefully not for long, and that's what we're trying to change with inside Citrix. So yeah, the first one when you talk about the future is like the future of who. The common mistake we're all making when we talk about the future is the future that we are in, right? So we start with ourselves, and then we try to predict how we will work 20 years from now. But that's not how you should look at it. You should look at who's actually in that future. And just in 2025, 75% of all workers are millennials, right? That barely, if they start using email, that's because they needed an email address to actually sign up for Facebook, for Twitter, right? So that's a generation that is pretty much the more than half the workforce just 10, 11 years from now. Just very, very important to remember when we talk about that future. Work is not a place you go. It's true for many of us here, and it's getting true for more and more people. So right now, just one fact is 20% of everyone working in the Fortune 100 company are contractors. That's expected to be 50% by 2020. 50% do not have an employment contract. They have a temporary work relationship, and then they move on. In surveys, 45% of young professionals would any day trade a salary increase for more flexibility at work. And if you survey that same group, or actually everyone in the workplace, 75% would like to work remotely. Not all the time, but some of the time, at least have the flexibility. It's just some of the facts and how things are looking now. This is how some places used to look, just not only from a physical point of view, but also actually how the organization was perceived. Everything was hierarchical, and a lot of things were passed down by command, and then there's a lot of control measures in place. Right? That's often how we used to build companies in big organizations. There was a tool invented for that way of running an organization, and that tool is called mail. Later it got an E in front of it, so email. But it was never intended to be a big collaboration where people worked on the same level with their peers. That was like passing information down to a small group of people. So a tool that I use widespread still, but not built for the way we either are running organizations or should run organizations. Because the truth is, it looks much more like this. It's a free flow of information. Many of us have grown up, and I actually learned that definitely in a law firm, and partially also in McKinsey. We've grown up believing that knowledge is power, right? And by knowledge is power is, if you want to progress your career, sometimes you better sit onto that knowledge. That's kind of one learning we have sometimes, and many of us have experienced in our career. Another thing is that we don't, there's some secrecy, right? We even stamp some documents. We used to stamp documents like confidential, top secret, because we also have this belief that, being at a certain seniority level in an organization entitles you to actually hold information close to you, because it also creates a bit of secrecy, right? That, that leaders are wise people that know everything, that can predict the future 30 years out, and therefore that's why they sit in senior management teams, right? And the executive board, when they have discussions, wow, those are very, very smart discussions. And if you try to sit in any of these boards, they're not any smarter than any other discussions going on in the company. They're just a bit more condensed, and they happen based on a bit more information. Right? So they happen based on a bit more information. What if everyone in the company could have access to the same information? And that's so instead of thinking that knowledge is power, organizations should think, and are starting, to think that sharing is power. So let all information flow, pretty much everything, right? We know stuff that should not be shared, but pretty much everything should just be shared freely in the organization. And that was the intention of this picture. And that's also how software is built. That's the idea behind Podio. That's the idea behind Yammer. A lot of software tools out there that try to bring sharing into the workplace is just share it. Because if you share information across the organization, then the people that can act on it, they get information. Right now what's happening is some people get information, then they have to filter and then decide what gets passed on to the organization. They don't know what's relevant out in the field at various levels in the organization. So much flatter organization, sharing information much more freely. We're trying to do that inside Citrix, at least inside the SaaS division. The SaaS division is a roughly a 2,500 people division, part of Citrix, who is a 9,000 people company in total. And we actually share pretty openly. Stuff that would not, that actually we believe should be kept, we share that very openly. We grew Podio like that. Podio is a bit more than 60 people in the Podio team now, and we've always done that. Everyone has access to everything except for personal information, right, around salaries and those kind of things. Right? Everything else is shared across the entire organization. Because what email is pushing it out. I shared with you what you can do with tools like Podio, Yammer, Slack. Any of those tools is that you can pull information in when you need it. The best example, if you want to understand this a bit more, one really cool example of this is the US Army. When they had to start fighting the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the General McChrystal, he actually changed how they shared information. They did exactly that, that had to go all the way to the top in order to be filtered down. He starts sharing it openly. So they do daily calls with, I think, 80,000 people, right? Imagine a meeting with 80,000 people, right? But they share information. And as far as I understand, it's on a daily basis. They have 1.5 hour kind of stand-up. You all know that from doing software development, right? The 5-minute stand-up. They have it with 1.5 hour, 80,000 people. It's the military, but still quite an unusual way of having a 4-star general talking directly to people out on a carrier. This one, again, something from the past, documents. Right? We made documents to be printed and put in binders. Who ever print anything to put in a binder anymore? But document still sticks with us, right? We think of everything that in order to be real work, it has to be put in document. Yet we are online all the time and just share things in small snippets as we used to do on Facebook. And put it in the cloud instead. This one just you know, people are not in the same location all the time. I'm not advocating that we should spread people out and never have an office. I don't believe in those kind of conversations. I believe in people meeting up, but it doesn't have to be every day from 9 to 5. It needs to be much more flexible, and you need to have the tools to actually connect these people, even though they're not in the same room or in the same city. We have grown up. I think if you look at some enterprise tools, they try to be, you know, one tool to do everything, and the truth is they don't do anything very good. SAP, Salesforce, Microsoft, all of those try to do too many things, and none of them they do very well. The new way of doing things is you have a lot of point tools that you allow your employees to just bring into the company, whatever fits them. All the whole SaaS revolution, right, allows to have easy access to tools, download them, not download, start using them, and use them with your credit card. Was that a question for me, or okay? Sorry. And then, you know, user empowerment. Think of all the, you know, the new kind of organizations also think around any user to actually give them the empowerment to make decisions, empowerment to bring their own device, empowerment to bring to actually build their own tools, and also decide what tools they want to work with. There's a security implication, but those are getting sorted, and then you can actually have users feeling like this, instead of having users that are, you know, only allowed to use tools invented by this bunch of people. And what they invented back in the 80s is still, you know, where most of the work is happening. So, in summary, you know, tool identity is really strong, and tools, software tools, what we believe is software tools need to give people an identity. So if you do something in a piece of software, you leave something behind. You have an identity, and you are a person. The second one is communication. Imagine a tool where you just go in and enter something, but you cannot discuss it, right? So a recruiting tool where you can enter an application or put a curriculum in, but you cannot have a discussion. That discussion has to happen in another tool like email. It sounds a bit weird. Why not have the communication and discussion of that candidate in context? That's what we mean by communication being in everything and every tool we're doing. That's still not the case. Might hopefully in the case of the tools you're using, but not in the case that everyone is using. User experience. It goes without saying, but the reason, if you think from a business point of view, the reason that's important for anyone here that consider to build something for companies, so a SaaS company, the reason why user experience is so important is everyone is a decision maker now. Any employee can pick a tool, take it to the company, and it can spread. It's not just a conversation that happens on the CIO level where you kind of pitch your tool and then the user experience come second. It's up front. Sharing, we talked about that. Allow the tool and build the tool so it's a very, very transparent tool. Mobile, pretty much goes without saying. And then DOS, and that's not disk operating system, that's don't own stuff. That's how all companies are thinking today, or at least the most forward-looking ones are thinking don't own stuff. It goes for service, it goes for program, and guess what, it goes for people. That's why they don't, in the future, going to employ people anymore. So, a bit of background on what Podio actually is. This is how it used to be, and somehow still is. There are a lot of tools out there that we believe in Podio, and that's why we started Podio. We believe they're too simple. They're built kind of as a one-trick pony. Then there are other tools that are too complex. You saw the Swiss Army knife before. They try to do a lot of things, and it's way too complex. So the perfect combo, the winning combo for many of us, I've been using that winning combo for many, many years, is email and Excel. So you do your structure in an Excel sheet, and you completely control, you as a user, to build the structure of your, investor leads or your CRM tool, build in Excel, then email around to people that how you share it. But that also has some weaknesses. Actually, has quite a few weaknesses, but it's definitely stronger than any of the two other suggestions. So what we tried to do was to bring together email and Excel to make it very, very simple inside Podio. So it's a tool that you basically build your own structures, and you have the entire identity and communication built into the tool, and of course the mobile version of it. We have 400,000 organizations worldwide now, 80,000 unique apps. That doesn't mean that every company only have 2 apps. That doesn't mean 80,000 apps have been built by the users, because that's the core of Podio, is that we allow people to build their own apps for any kind of process they run in that company. I'll just skip quickly through this, I don't think we covered those. So, a Scrum board app, a scientific research app, a timesheet and product planning app, a movie festival screening app. Whoever saw that in the market? No one, because it's not a big market, but someone needed it and built it and put it into the Podio App Store. A customer relations app, specifically for that one. And that's a big mantra we have for building software and running our company is stop being boring. So the story, just quickly, I saw there were a couple of topics today around, meet the founders, and I just want to give you a bit of background on Podio. So Podio started in 2009. In 10, we kind of got the whole team, built the basic of the team, got to probably 10, 12 guys in the team. Then we launched in 11 and had more than 20 people in the team. In 12, we got acquired by Citrix. Citrix continued to invest in us, and we in 13 grew towards the end of 13. We passed 50 employees in the office, and right now we start building more products for Citrix out of the Copenhagen office, and now almost 90 people in the Copenhagen office. Not everyone doing Podio, but still doing a lot of innovation for Citrix in general. This was, the original idea is the power to manage work is back where it originated with the people who do the job. So back to that sharing and people being empowered, that's the whole idea behind Podio. This is John Froder, one of the founders, actually putting up that sign in the office. We started out with, before building software, we started out with something everyone talks about now, customer development. So we started meeting with a lot of customers in a very, very small office in Copenhagen, a basement. So customers came down there, and we didn't have anything to show them. We just asked them about pain points and start understanding how they work. When we then had the first version of the tool, very, very rudimentary version of Podio, we started having the beta groups and showed them, how it was built. It was hacked together on Drupal. But when we started talking about scaling, everyone kind of got this weird stare in their eyes because this definitely did not scale. But it allowed us to go fast out and test with users and get the first paying users on board. This is the team pretty much around when we got acquired by Citrix, 20 people in Copenhagen. Copenhagen, we're trying to create the same startup scene as you are so fortunate to have here in Berlin. And that's a scene where you can attract talent from all over the world. So of the team, with the 60 people we are today in Podio, I think more than 40 of those are from abroad, and we have 21 different nationalities in the office. So we're trying to do that, and Podio for me was the first proof that can actually be done. Then, when we had to launch Podio, that's just how we to a large extent operated. We started an office in a pop-up store in San Francisco, and tried to model it out of how Apple built their stores. So everything was white, and it has a lot of apps in there, and a couple of Genius bars. And we opened the store for a week, and that's how we launched Podio. So on the opening night, there was a queue outside our store. This is on the 6th Street in San Francisco. Those of you who have been there, it's a pretty rough area. But we still managed to have a line outside, people waiting to get into our launch party. And this is the view of the launch party where we had 450 people in that store, and we could actually launch. And that's where Podio kind of got off to a good start. And we even had our own band. We still have that band called the Podios. It then, didn't end, but a big milestone was to become part of Citrix. The reason we chose to become part of Citrix, I tried to sell another company you don't sell your companies, you get acquired, right? So my previous company got acquired by Vodafone, and that was not a good experience for a number of reasons. Vodafone is not a very innovative company. At least not there, and I think it's a marketing company, not a technology company. So there was definitely a clash of culture between us and them, and we didn't manage to get put into the company at the right level. So I think to a certain reason, the innovation part we brought in from SIP pretty much got destroyed, but definitely didn't have good conditions to grow from. It was very, very different, and this very different with Citrix. It's almost 3 years, or 2.5 years since we got acquired. I'm still there. As I told before, we're growing Podio a lot inside Citrix, and we start getting involved in a lot more products inside the Citrix organization. And Citrix and the culture we had in Podio still have a much better match. I learned a lot from the experience of becoming part of Vodafone previously. So just a very simple thing, some like defining where you sit in the organization, that conversation we had up front, and I made sure I or the team had a seat at the table, and that's the seat we still have now, and start developing Citrix and making that an even better company, and even better, make sure they have even better product in the market. So any startups out there, if you're looking, I know sometimes the brand of Citrix is not that, it's not as a Google or Facebook. If they come knocking, or if Citrix come knocking, we might not have the same kind of brand, but give us a chance. Actually, a very, very cool company to work for, and room for a lot of innovation and a lot of growth as well. Those were the words. Thanks a lot for listening.